Wish should have been good, but it isn't. And I wanted to love Wish, but I don't. The premise of Wish is about this kingdom, or they call it a city, but they call it a city, but it has a king and a queen, which implies it's a kingdom, but anyway. It has this city where everyone, when they turn 18, gives their wish to the king, King Magnifico. And then King Magnifico decides which wishes get granted, and if he doesn't grant the wish, they just don't remember what their wish was. They never say it, but I'm assuming that if the wish is granted, their memories get returned to them. King Magnifico is paranoid about certain wishes being dangerous, so a lot of wishes go ungranted, and Asha, the protagonist, is asking, why don't you just give the wishes back so they can at least remember their wishes and try to fulfill them on their own? And King Magnifico still thinks that it's too dangerous for them to even have those in their heads. The concepts of Wish they should be interesting. The execution is where everything falls apart. They don't go nearly deep enough into this concept of a king deciding which wishes should and should not be granted. They give him this backstory that gives him his paranoia about not granting people their desires because they might be dangerous. The film never really portrays him as having a point. When you see the wishes that he's not granting in his tower of globed-up wishes, they're all wholesome things, but really, if this were to happen in real life, there would be a lot of messed up wishes that he would be totally justified in not giving back or granting. There would be people wishing that they could control people's minds. There could be people wishing to know the dark arts to bring about the apocalypse. King Magnifico's whole thing is he's saying not all wishes should be granted, and that's objectively true. And yet the film treats him as if he's objectively wrong about that. I think what happened was they so desperately wanted to convey the message of don't let someone else decide if your wish comes true. Be so well, they wanted to push that to the point where they didn't want to portray both sides of the argument, because they think it would just confuse people instead of being an interesting discussion. There wasn't any character who had a wish that was actually destructive. If they had that, they could have talked him out of it or something. While the other wishes are pursued, they could have done that, but they don't. Another thing with the concepts going wrong is they seem to think if they had good concepts, they would have a good movie, but it feels like they paid no attention to the details because the dialogue in this script is so undercooked. It's like when you warm up a breakfast burrito in the microwave and some of it is fine, but every so often you get to this part of the burrito where it's really cold and unpleasant, and you just think, I should have let that cook for a little bit longer. That's what the dialogue is like. There's a part where this guy gets this magic-induced sadness, and he does this, such sadness. And I think no one talks like that when they're sad. I don't know how deep I want to go into spoilers just yet, but there's this part where King Magnifico was finding a use for wishes, and he was saying something like, who knew that wishes had this power? And this is the same guy who was saying earlier that wishes are such a valuable part of who people are. So I wanted to say, you knew that wishes had this kind of power. It didn't feel thought through very well. And the low comedy, particularly with the goat, is as I feared. The goat and a few other animals were so obnoxious and unfunny. It seems like I think they made the mistake of thinking that they were the intellectuals and all their audience are dummies who will just accept whatever they're told. Wish had a lot of references to past Disney films, and it had gorgeous animation, which I should be freaking out about, but with everything that goes horribly wrong in the movie, it just makes me numb to the stuff that I should be loving. Even the songs were a huge letdown for me. I only remember liking one or two of the songs. The rest I found annoying. And let's talk a bit about the climax of the film. This is kind of spoilers, but at this point, who cares? It's not like I'm recommending Wish. King Magnifico is doing his evil thing. He's got everyone in the city tied up with these magic vines, and then they just start singing until the villain keels over. You can't just sing at the villain and expect all the problems to go away. And I had visions of people working on this film saying it worked for Encanto. I think a very common and destructive mistake in fiction is emulation without understanding. Imagine trying to build a car without knowing what an engine is. Non-violent solutions work for non-violent problems. In Encanto, the problem was the family wasn't functioning as they should be, so the solution was to fix the family mistakes. In Wish, they had a violent problem, so they should have had a violent solution. The Disney films of old understood that. I know someone out there is going to think that I shouldn't expect Disney films to be intellectual, because some people think that these films are only for children, and they also think that children like low comedy and bad songs. But listen, when I watched Wish, there was only one other party in the whole theater. It was a family of three, two parents and a little girl, and they left halfway through the film. Kids don't like low comedy either. It's better to overestimate your audience's intelligence than to underestimate your audience's intelligence. If you underestimate your audience's intelligence, most common case scenario, they'll be irritated the whole way through. And best case scenario, they might get dumb fun out of it as kids, but then they'll grow up and realize that it was horrible. If you overestimate your audience's intelligence, if they watch it as a kid, not getting all the complexities of the themes, or not laughing at the wittier jokes, they could still grow up to realize that the film was better than they remember it being. And worst case scenario, with overestimating your audience's intelligence, they will at least appreciate that you think they can understand it. So remember to like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell, and overestimate your audience's intelligence.